Hey Kevin, what are you doing?
Well, I've gotten a couple of inquiries here, one in person actually. They just bought themselves a new MIG welder and they said, how do you put the wire in? This is my Everlast ProMTS 251 SI. So it really depends on which machine you have because they're all going to be slightly different from one another. But the basics things is the spool of wire is going to mount on this shaft. On this machine, it has a little collar and a spring and the nut to hold everything together. So check and see how your machine is set up, but it should have something similar to that. The spool goes on, the collar goes on, the spring goes on, and then you put the nut on and just snug it down a little by hand. So when you get your new spool out of the box that it came in, it's probably going to be wrapped up in plastic to help keep it clean. And you're going to find the wire is actually stuck through a little hole in the side of the spool and bent over just to keep the wire captive. Warning, when you cut that little crimp off of it, now there's nothing holding the wire on. The wire is under a little bit of tension. It wants to be straight. You've been warned. Hang on to it. So the next thing you're going to want to do is feed it into this little inlet tube on the beginning of the drive roller assembly. Now, your assembly will probably look a little different from this one. This is just a single drive roller. Some of them have two drive rollers and two of these idler wheels and the little tension knobs. But look right down in here, and this is your drive roller. And you see these two grooves that are inside there? Those are actually different diameters for different diameter wire. So it's got this little collar inside here with a key in it, and that'll match up with the key in your drive wheel. And on your drive roller, you're going to find these two grooves in there, and they'll be marked 0.8 or 1.0. And you just have to make sure you've got the right size groove in the right position for the right diameter wire that you're using so it'll grip. And of course, us silly Americans, we're using 0.030, 0.035, whatever diameter wire we're using, or we go by inches, by decimal points here, and these things are actually in metrics. So a way to cheat, a way to figure out which size you need, put it in the groove and just run your finger over it. Check the other one, see if it actually sticks up more. You don't want it sticking up too high, but you don't want it completely down inside the groove where the drive wheel isn't going to actually push the wire. And then it's just a simple matter of putting your wheel on there with the correct groove in the correct position. Get your retaining nut on there and just feed your wire into the outlet side, if you will. I like to just push it in a little ways so it's up into the cable itself, and then I can just put my idler down and lock it in place. And you just need to get the nozzle off of it and get the contact tip off. This is where the wire actually comes out of the end of the gun. Some machines have a button inside somewhere, a fast jog, a fast speed, something like that. It's a button that you will push that will run the machine at full speed just to feed the wire through. This machine does not have that button. So what I would wind up doing is just come into my wire feed adjustment on the front of the machine, and I'll go ahead and turn the wire feed all the way up to 600 inches. Make sure you leave your gas off. No reason to be spraying gas out. And then you just pull the trigger, but eventually all of a sudden you'll start to feel it coming up the cable. Now we got it over here. So turn your machine off, and then you can just put your contact tip, the correct size for whatever wire you're running. Just get it on there, and I like to just snug it just a little. Make sure your nozzle's clean inside. Look inside there, make sure there's no little boogers in it or anything. Get it back on your gun. So I hope that points all you new MIG owners in the right direction. Let's get to work. But before you do that, please try to hit that subscribe button for me. I'll see you next time. And just turn it all the way to max. That would work really well if it was set in the MIG function. Right now it's set in TIG.